Master Frodo, Master Chief, Master Bader, Master's Arbiter, trilogies, threesomes, rings, muscle mommies, blue swords, trees, new shows with lesbians. Don't take my word for it, take it from his. Look, I love both of these franchises as much as the next guy. You know, I grew up on both of them. But today we're going to be talking about the original trilogies of both and why people love them so much. It has no haters. I want to start at the beginning. It's 2007. Look, I remember getting on the school bus and there was an energy in the air. You couldn't get away from it. It was aggressive, but hot. Especially for a kid my age, it was intense. You know, every kid brought their hard case of Halo 3 on the bus. Some kids would just lick it. They were trying to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop, which was a racial slur. We didn't know what to do, you know, with the aura going on in the air. It was not our fault. You know, we were jerked up like Jamaican chicken. You could piss a hole through a urinal cake and then put it in a sock and up the lunch lady. We were learning about slavery, and some kids were protesting because they thought Abe Lincoln was shutting down Master Chief's source of income. It was intense, dude, and like you can't even get mad because we didn't know. Dudes were telling their girlfriends they needed a primary and a secondary side piece, and some of them got them, dude. Some of them got that. They got that secondary, and I'm not kidding. When it was just in the air, you couldn't do anything about it. It was like catnip for ex-husbands in training. It was beautiful. And I know that some of you aren't going to understand this, but it was different. You had to hit some, or you had to make love with a gun in your bud, you know, just so your girl might say, I need a weapon. Look, I don't know what it means, but every act seemed like it had testosterone and aggression in it. You know, kids were going to the nurse's office just so they could call their mother and call them the N-word. They had to get it out of their system. It had been too long since they had been on Xbox Live. You can't blame them. And it's not our fault. It was cultural. It was almost spiritual. It infested our minds through almost a communist propagandized marketing campaign. And my God, did it work on our freaking tiny little brains. It was beautiful. And there's another franchise that had the same effect on people, I feel like. Not as aggressive, maybe more of a kind of an autistic wave that just swept across the country, was Lord of the Rings. It was a similar wave that swept across the country. Just the effect it had on people. I don't know if you know what LARPing is, but that didn't start until after Frodo brought that ring to Mount Doom. It didn't start until Gandalf said, you shall not pass. There was a lot of things that were going on that sparked Halloween in July for a lot of grown men and women, for anyone of color to be LARPing. You know, hip-hop was not LARPing at the time, but I'll tell you what, if you can get a brother to LARP, you're doing something right in your fantasy. This type of stuff sparked fan fiction. There's this just beautiful, sensual poetry being written about these, you know, these dudes with long ears. But I mean, what Frodo and Aragorn and Legolas did for the black community is just incredible. You know, you saw black guys just with bow and arrows. You hadn't seen that, you know, in forever. It had been a long time, I think hundreds of years. And finally we got to see it again. And they didn't even have to use them if they didn't want to. They had that 9mm on tap. And that's all thanks to Frodo's sacrifice. And my point is with all this is the impact that both of these things had and kind of the similarities between them. We're going to talk about them a little bit. But they had body pillows in the shape of Aragorn probably. Women were having shorter kids because they wanted to have hobbit children. And I'm just saying this, dude. This is true. This is real life stuff. People probably were doing that. And it's not a coincidence. You can look it up. People got shorter as Lord of the Rings cut out. You know, in Halo, same thing, dude. I mean, so let's get into it a little bit. By the way, I'm the Turtleneck Titan. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. The cultural impact is undeniable with both these things. I know that some of you guys are going to talk about, oh, what about Star Wars or what about Harry Potter? I got to say this, dude. Lord of the Rings walked so Harry Potter could run. You know, and I don't think that's controversial. I mean, they had a gay man play a straight wizard, and then all of a sudden Harry Potter comes out, straight man playing a gay wizard, and he dies in real life. That's something. You know, I'm not trying to start any beef with the potheads. That's not my goal here. I wrote down a list. 1, gambling is good. I don't know what you've heard, but it's true. If you're passionate about something, gamble on it, because that's what these guys did. You know, Bungie was in a funk, had a debt. They got bought out by Microsoft, and they were betting big on the Halo game. Basically, if Bungie didn't do well, they were screwed. And they didn't even really push Halo as the flagship, but it ended up becoming their best. I think it was at like a gaming expo that they were showing off the graphics of the new Xbox before it came out, and all the people who were there loved Halo. And then on the Lord of the Rings side, Look, they got funded for 3 movies, then filmed 3 movies without the first one even coming out yet. They filmed 3 movies in 2 years without knowing if the first one was gonna suck. I think there's like an interview where someone's talking about, one of the cast members is talking about how Peter didn't come out to the bars or to the casinos, and they asked him why, and he's like, I made a $200 million bet. That's all gambling I need. Petey Boy was stressed out. We know that for sure, dog. So yeah, gambling is a fantastic sport. Number 2, he went to Jared. I'll just throw this in there. They both like rings. And I'm not saying that you have to have rings in your franchise or your fantasy or whatever in order for it to be successful. But I think it helps, dude. Both of these guys, they're both destroying rings. Okay? There's a formula here we're missing out on. And I don't know exactly what it is. I haven't got this figured out yet. But I do think that there's something there. You know, both made $1 billion on destroying rings. So, 3, trilogies. Why do all things end in a good trilogy, you know? The first 3 Star Wars were a trilogy. The first 3 Halos were Prime Halo. We're not going to leave out Reach. Reach is amazing. Yes, we love it. ODST, people love that one. But the first 3, I don't think you can beat that. And it's the same thing with Lord of the Rings. It's a perfect trilogy. It kind of cemented it, and people like me don't really look at the stuff after. You know, I love the Hobbits, but they don't have the same... It's a time and a period that was what it was. You're not going to recreate that. Even if you put out a great Halo game now, you're not going to recreate it. And I think things in 3s work great. And so take that into account. That's why I think these both were successful as well. They were passionate about it, and they did it in 3s. So... if you're going to have kids, don't have 4. Have 3, because the 4th one's probably going to be an asshole, right? And he's just going to rip off the first 3's ideas. And he's going to come to me and he's going to be like, Dad, I want to be a football player, right? Like, you know, your older brother's already pretty good at that. You want to try tennis or something, you know? No, Dad, I want to be a football player. Well, hey, look, you know, and this is why we didn't want to have you. We just didn't, okay? So, yeah. And then next thing is leave room for erotic fan fiction. And I'll just say that now, okay? Leave it to the fans to make up their minds, right? Sam, Frodo, lots of sexual tension. Leave that for the fans, okay? Let them make up their own minds on who's banging. Let them make up their own minds, you know? Let them get their juices flowing. That's some creativity you can leave for the fans. And you just let them roll with it. Let them be freaky. Let their freak flag fly. That's what these weird people are for. We need that in the community, and I think that we've lost some of it. I'm upset about it, okay? I haven't written any in a long time, and that's because nothing good has come out. That I feel like the sexual tension is worth spending my night bricked up at a computer on Reddit, okay? Studios, take notes. They need that. It's a sad world out there, and there's a lot of things that keep people going, and one of those things used to be fan fiction. So that's all I'll say about that. I don't know what number we're on. I'm just going to put it on the screen. Cool helmets. I'm also kind of making these up as I go along. Cool ass helmets. I mean, I remember let's bring those back, right? You know, cool helmets. Where's the cool helmets at? You know, in Lord of the Rings, the cousin, old cuz, had a horse on his nose. Do you not think that I would wear that now? I would wear it. If you don't think that at my softball game, I would wear that. Cool helmets. Let's bring back cool helmets, okay? You know, if you're riding a motorcycle or a big lady, you need safety. You need to look stylish while you're doing it. You need a cool helmet, and if you bring back the horse on the nose, I would ride anything on that. And these are staples of the community, right? You can't go anywhere without recognizing the chief, you know? And I've never even seen his face. Unfortunately, I did in the show. He's hot. Let's keep it mysterious. Let's not show faces anymore. Next one, stop yelling. Let's bring back soft speaking, okay? This was a staple in both. I never heard Master Chief yell. Did you? I didn't. I never heard Aragorn get above a negative 10 dB. He was whispering even when he was yelling. I mean, my God, it turned everyone on. I don't think people understand that sex sells, right? And you don't want a guy yelling at you. You don't want a guy yelling at you when he's trying to turn you on, you know? If I just yell at you while I'm trying to turn you on, you know, you want to whisper. You want to talk low. You want to talk, hey, you know, Mithril. You know, you just say Mithril. Try to yell Mithril. Mithril! Doesn't work. You got to say it, Mithril. You know, you got to whisper it. And I think that we need to bring that back, dude. Start whispering again, dude. I know. Don't use your outside voice when everybody else is inside. You know, if you want to get inside someone, use their inside voice. And these trilogies both understood that so perfectly. You never heard Chief go, "For America!" You know, he wasn't screaming. You know, look, unless you're Sergeant Johnson. Look, if you're black, don't use your inside voice. Because it's not fair. Okay? Chris Brown does it. No, I can't bring my wife to a concert. But if you're white, stop using your outside voice. Use what God gave you. If you're trying to get inside someone, use your inside voice. You don't use your outside voice. That's how you stay outside of them. You don't want that. Virginity's on the rise. It's just, you know, people aren't having sex anymore. And I think it's because we just keep spitting out outside voices and bad franchises. And I just don't believe in that. And I don't agree with it politically, to be honest. Next, let's start making Mountain Dew flavors again. I don't think Lord of the Rings has one, but Halo did. Worked on me. If you don't think that I'm buying that Mountain Dew over a regular Mountain Dew, I don't know what's in that can, but I need to know what Chief's hiding. And I'm going to get in there and I'm going to find out. And it's going down my throat. Pause. Yes, Diddy. But the marketing for both was amazing. They had, I mean, the toys, the fact that I could have a sword of both. Let's bring back good marketing. Like, let's flood and propagandize the children again. You know, it works on me. I'm a grown man. Come on now. Let's get kooky with our marketing. And maybe it's happening. It's probably happening. Fortnite's doing a great job of just molesting our minds, unconsensually just putting ads in our brain. All right, next one. Caked up blue people. Ghost, hologram, don't care. As long as they got cake and it's my birthday. That's what I want. Cortana, prime example of a caked up blue person in Lord of the Rings. I know you're thinking, what about the blue? There's no blue people in Lord of the Rings. Think again. Those ghosts. There was thousands of those ghosts. You're telling me that there wasn't one of those ghosts swinging one of them swords that wasn't tailgating a bakery behind them? You're lying. And maybe that's not part of the success, but I would say throw that in the recipe. These are good things. These are things that I think stirred the pot and really brought Lord of the Rings and Halo together. Lastly, I think just passion for the project. You know, what we don't have anymore is a lot of passion. And there's a lot of reasons for that you can get into that are really boring and I'm not going to talk about. You know, people aren't taking risks. There's a lot of subsidizing. There's a lot of things, boring business things that are going on that really do affect it probably more than anything. And I've talked about it in some of the other gaming videos I've done. But passion for the project, and that's one thing with both of these franchises that you have. With Halo, it was fight or flight. There was nothing else. They had to make a banger or you would have never heard of Bungie. And same thing with Lord of the Rings. There would not be fantasy movies out now if it didn't come from Peter Jackson's willingness to try to make things work. And it's the same thing with Halo. You know, first-person shooters were taken to the next level because of Halo. These people cared about these projects, and I'm not going to get preachy, but I do feel like we're missing that in a lot of things nowadays. I mean, my God, try to scroll anything on Netflix or find any game that feels like it has any type of soul in it. If it does, it gets sucked out of in the second season or in the follow-up game. Let me know what you guys think. Honestly, this is just some of my thoughts. I'm just trying to have fun, you know. Look, if you made it this long, I appreciate you. This was kind of just a dumb rant. It's not meant to take too serious. I goof around a lot in these videos. So, thank you guys for watching. Later.